Welcome back. Thank you for being with us again. It's our last episode with Patricia Kara, and boy, have the last two been big ones. And we've heard from a lot of you about those episodes. So thank you for your comments, and we're just going to dive right back in. Stay with us. So tell me about the book. Dream On, Now Deliver.
I'm very excited about this book.
Beautiful cover, by the way. Gorgeous.
Thank you. One of my close friends in Chicago, a Greek girl, shot that.
that.
I was back to Chicago and the Greeks. That book, it's funny because I'm not a writer. I never thought about writing a book. And when the first few years I was living in LA, a good friend planted that seed. And I thought he was crazy. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you have all this knowledge. You've worked everywhere. You've lived in different places. You know the business. And you've done well for yourself. He's like, you can help somebody else. And I was like, well, maybe, and I always had in the back of my head, and that was about 20, 25 years ago. So over time, I started jotting notes. And then everybody would come to me like, I would go to auditions and I would think somebody needed help. And I would readily just, hey, you need to, hey, have you thought about talking to this agency or that agency or whatever the case may be? And then I finally was like, when I got on Deal or No Deal, I had more people coming, moms coming to me about their children. I want to get them into the entertainment business, but don't know how. So it just, when something keeps coming up, maybe it's time to listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I finally did, but it took years of me talking about it. I'm sure my husband got sick of listening to me going, I really need to write this book. But finally, when I was caring for my mom the last few years, I would sit with her and I was going through the cycle of stuff with my ex-brother-in-law and my sister. That came around. I was taking care of my mom. I was going through a lot of stuff. And then I was trying to focus on the book. And I think with everything happening, it just gave me the strength I needed to complete just to complete this book and get it out there. And it was tough, but I had to do it. And my mom gave me the strength, honestly, being with her and what we were going through at the time with my mom really gave me the strength to go through all of it, even the other stuff. So it's been an interesting last few years, very difficult.
So much luck with this. I'm excited for you. It's been out about 6 months.
Thank you. This is definitely, it's brought joy to my life, and it's interesting how, and great how it's taken on a world of its own to be able to go back and talk about everything. I'm always about moving forward. You need to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And I had to look back, and it was really crazy how I had to look back, not just in the business, but my personal life, that everything just came at the same time. It just wasn't what I expected, not anywhere I thought I would go, but it was like, all right, everything at once, and you just have to deal with it and figure it out and work through it. And so still going through some stuff, but it's gotten better, and this book has definitely helped me, really, has brought, like I said, joy to my life, and just happy to get it out there. And I think it'll help a lot of people with business and personal, even some personal stuff. Some of the stuff I talk about with self-image, talking about rejection, taking care of your mind and body, and thinking about contracts, which is a big thing, and just being careful because there are people that will take advantage of you, and just to watch out for those things. And if you're younger, hopefully you have an adult in your life that can guide you and support you. We all need that guidance and support at any point in our lives, but it's really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to shift gears again, and I'm going to paraphrase some of the things I've heard you say, but I think your mom was one of the great loves of your life.
Yes.
And you kind of put your life on hold for the last few years. She was in a nursing home in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And
You're going to make me cry.
You went back to be with her as much as you could and for long stints of time.
Mm-hmm.
But you uncovered some pretty outrageous elder abuse in some of the places she was in.
There are things that happen that I can't really get into. Yeah, there were things that did happen that I encountered and had to deal with, and we're still in the middle of it, so I can't really.
And I just think about your life, your story, think about how you came out of the womb sort of fighting for your mom. And I think she had to know in her last days you were still fighting for her. You were still her protector from the time you were a little bitty girl all the way to the end of her life. You were her protector and you fought for her.
That's what she was for me. I feel like she was the one fighting for me. I mean, she brought me into this life under horrible circumstances. That, in the end, it was like she became my child. And I was lucky enough to be able to go back home and be with her and spend the time I did. Not everything was perfect. I feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't do this good enough. Or there are so many things that I wish I would have done differently. Like, oh, now I remember when she said or did this as a kid. Like, I didn't know she was going through menopause. I'm going through it now. So now, like, oh, that's why it was so tough on her. She was going through that. That's why she was angry all the time. We had nothing, it wasn't me. It was the menopause. Or maybe a little bit me too. But it really, I fight with that in my head to the day. No matter how much I think I was there for her and helped her, I feel like I didn't do enough. So I struggle with that quite a bit.
It's okay. It's okay. There's Kleenex right there.
Thank
you.
you.
Kleenex.
Yeah, it's just hard. I try to focus on the good. I really do. But in quiet moments, I think about what could I have done better.
I really understand that. I understand that. I think it's one of the things I've learned in surviving James' death, because I get so many questions now doing the podcast. How long will I be in this? How long will this pain last? And everybody, no matter how the death happens, whether it's suicide or it's a natural death or you lose a child, the question is, how could I have stopped it? How could I have done something to have a different outcome? I was reading this woman the other day, and her life, her job was as a resilience psychologist. And she and her husband went on a walk one morning, and her daughter was with her best friend and her best friend's mother, and all three of them were killed in the early morning hours, and here she had to go back to work and teach other people about resilience while she was
going through all that.
I lost my baby, But I think it is universal, the kinds of questions you're asking yourself. I ask myself, how could I have kept it from happening? How could I have made his life better? I think that's kind of universal. It's part of what we are in grief. And Peter and I were talking about this yesterday. I don't remember exactly his question, but he was asking me something about what is grief, or how do you get through grief? And I said, I think 4.5 years in for me, grief is something you can't fight. You can't overcome it. You just learn to walk alongside of it, or I like to say you live with it.
You do.
You bathe with it, you sleep with it, you eat with it, you get dressed with it. That grief is sitting right there all the time.
Every day.
Yeah. And so I understand your questioning. I understand the pain. I understand the journey.
It's unfortunate, but it's part of the process to go through, and there's no time limit. It's every day is a different day, good and bad, every day.
And you just do what you have to do for you
to get through.
Yeah. If you need to sleep through that day, sleep. If you need to spend the whole day walking like you do some days.
Those are some of the best moments. I talk to my mom all the time on my walks and just have those little inner conversations. And
I talk to James all the time.
Yeah.
Planted butterfly bushes. So the butterflies will come and I go out and talk to him by the butterflies. I'm like, I know you're here. You have to be here. Talk to me.
Do you have certain music that you play that remind you of him? And
I'm not healed enough to do that.
Interesting. I get it.
I can't.
I get it.
Yes, we had so much music we shared. And
yeah, it's a hard one.
I can't do the music thing. I crumble. I turn into puddle on the floor.
It hurts. it hurts sometimes when you play. Like I definitely had music I would play with my mom, her old Greek music from her village days, and she responded very well to that. I have a little bit of a hard time playing that, but I play other songs that remind me of her. But going to that, it's like, okay, it's still too fresh. It's still too, it just hurts.
The only music I've had to just deal with, James' favorite group was Fleetwood Mac. Well, there isn't a restaurant you can go to that ends up playing some version of something that was Fleetwood Mac or Stevie Nicks or, you know.
How does it feel when you hear it? Like, does it sadden you? Does it make you happy? Does it change your mood?
I've learned little tricks to keep myself from going into sorrow and sadness in those situations. And they're so silly, kind of small little tricks. It's like, I'll recognize, I'll go, okay, this will not be good. And I'll do just a little thing. Even if it's like just shaking your head, looking the other way, or get up and, move around for just a minute. I have
distraction.
Shift. Because that music's not going away, and I'm sitting there with people, it's like I can't get away from it. But I have learned just little tiny shifts in my body or help just the smallest a bit. But I don't let myself go
there yet.
If I went into those songs, remembered all the fun we had and all the times he played them for me, and all the discussions we had about it, every single little piece and every drum lick of music, I mean, I couldn't keep standing. So no, I don't go into it. He did leave me. He only left one thing on his computer. One thing.
What did he leave you, if you don't mind me asking?
He left me a Mozart piece.
Oh.
And I love Mozart. And I still haven't played it.
Wow. When you're ready.
4.5 years in, I'm not ready.
Been 4.5 years. It's a tough one. It's
music just opens you up to your sorrow,
Yes, it does. And so I understand where you're coming from when it comes to that. And when you're ready, you'll listen to it in all due time.
Yeah.
Part of the healing process.
So just a last moment with you in this amazing vulnerability that you've given us, and your incredible story of success and ongoing. What do you dream for next?
I am excited about not really knowing where things can go. I just moved to a different state. The entertainment business is different there, so I feel like new beginnings. So I'm open to definitely with the book. I'm doing my book tours. I'm excited about that and all the things that have opened up because of the book. But I like the unknowingness. That excites me. Sometimes I don't like plan. Most of the time, I don't like planning. I like just having those spontaneous things happen and just moving forward, walking through and going, oh, this is kind of interesting this way. I want to go this way or that way. And obviously still working within the entertainment business. And I'm actually about to write my second book.
Oh, wow.
For not being a writer,
That's fast.
I want to do the second book. And it was a toss-up between the two books. And so I went with this one first because I had the most of my notes written down with that. So I think I'm ready for the second one.
Are you sharing what it's about?
About our show that we worked on.
Okay.
It's the anniversary next year. It's a 20-year anniversary since it began.
Great timing.
And it's interesting because I wasn't thinking about the timing. I was planning to do the book anyway. And then I was looking at the dates, going through my calendar books, and I said to myself, oh my gosh, it's 20 years next year. That's crazy. And then I thought, I need to speed up the book that I was going to write because it would be great to have it coincide with, the anniversary. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't. But I'm going to sure try my hardest to get to that point. This took a long time. So we'll see. We'll see how that, but this, I was putting, my whole life in there of my business since I was 15 years old, whereas with Deal or No Deal, it was later in life, a certain chunk of time in my life. So I feel like maybe it'll be a little of an easier process. Not easy, but an easier process.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful.
Well, one of the things I think absolutely about you is it will be a success.
Thank you.
You are driven. You have just this amazing
that it.
survival drive, and you succeed.
I hope so. Even if it's, to me, it's just, it feels good to accomplish what you set out, what you had in your head. So it's not even really about anything else. But for me, it's just, it was an idea I had, and I want to follow through, even if it takes a long time. And we do have a great fan base with the show that they always ask. To this day, I'll get messages like, what was it like doing this and that? Do you remember this show? And it's amazing how much they remember and remind me. So I think it would be really, really cool and fun to dive into that and, see what happens. I'm excited. I'm excited about that.
Thank you so much for this time together. You have just been incredibly open-hearted.
Thank you. This has definitely been interesting and difficult in some ways because I've never talked about these things. So, but thank you for helping me open up about it. And
your story of survival is just so courageous, fearless and courageous. I applaud you.
Likewise, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for being with us today. As you've heard, this is just an incredible story of survival from beginning to end and huge, beautiful success in the middle of it. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing nice right now. As are you.
And remember that she also has a wonderful new book out called Dream On, Now Deliver.